sisters, the new one and previous session. Indeed, we are very, very fortunate tonight together with us, our dear Professor Rashid Moten. For me, he is my brother, my father, my teacher, and he also always called me for not being active, quote unquote, being lazy in the office. Alhamdulillah. So Prof. Rashid is well-known, one of the renowned scholar on political and political science. You can Google him on Wikipedia in front of me now. He has authored 40 works and 81 publications in multiple languages, and his masterpiece is his book Political Science and Islamic Perspective. Alhamdulillah, in our series, this session, we are so fortunate. We have big name like Prof. Rashid Moten, we have Prof. Nani on pedagogy, and we have Prof. Hazim also in Islam and Science. These are scholars who have devoted their life in their discipline. Prof, this our series, our main purpose, as we discussed on the phone, we hope that other lecturers who are teaching political science can use this material for their classroom teaching. They may require the student to go and watch our videos and do some assignment, whatever is relevant to the classes. So, Prof, now it's all yours. We have 1 hour. You can present 45 minutes or so, then we'll answer questions. The question will be from the chat box. I will read it out for you, and then we'll answer. If there is question that not being answered, we'll answer it next week. I'll forward you the text. I mean, the text from the chat. Okay, Prof, we invite you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. Thank you very much, Brother Shah and Qasim, for such a beautiful introduction. I wish you continued that kind of thing so that I don't have to speak. Our topic is Islamization of political science, and this is a very important topic. As Brother Shahran said, I have been interested in this area for a long, long time, and I have also been very lucky that I joined International Islamic University, Malaysia, which gave me further opportunity to continue my interest. Before we start talking about Islamization of political science, I think we should talk about what Islamization of knowledge is about, because people have a wrong impression about Islamization of political science. I always had this problem with my students. I asked them, "Could you give me an example of Islamization of knowledge?" And they would say, "Yes, Prof, how about tafsir, English translation of Quran by Allama Yusuf Ali?" I say, "It's a beautiful translation. It's a very good thing. He has helped a lot. May Allah reward him. But it is not Islamization of knowledge. It is Islamic knowledge, yes, but it is not Islamization of knowledge." So there is a difference between what is Islamic knowledge and what is Islamization of knowledge. Islamization of knowledge has to do with transforming, with delivering knowledge, according to Sayyid Naqib al-Attas, that knowledge which is secular, knowledge which is based upon secular ideology must be transformed, okay, from its secular root to Islamic root. In other words, we are looking at a knowledge, and mainly we are talking about Western knowledge. So we look at the Western knowledge, see what it conveys, what are the meanings of the topic that it's talking about, and then see if that topic, that concept is in conformity with the teachings of the Quran and Sunnah. Okay, so if that concept is in conformity with the Quran and Sunnah, we will accept it. We will take it. There is nothing wrong in that one. If the concept has certain part which is acceptable from Islamic perspective, but certain part which is not acceptable from Islamic perspective, then we will adapt it. We will adapt it, make some amendments here and there, and make the concept conform to the Quran and Sunnah, to the Islamic perspective. And finally, if there is any concept which is totally against Islam, which we cannot accept at all, then we reject it. So we are going to look at the Western knowledge, see to what extent the Western knowledge or the concepts in Western knowledge, or we look at political science from the Western perspective, secular perspective, and see if those concepts are in conformity with Quran and Sunnah. So we are not against West, we are not against Western knowledge. We are all in favor of Western knowledge. What we are trying to do is to see the extent to which Western knowledge can be accommodated in Islam and make it Islamic so that we can benefit from it rather than so Islamization of knowledge is not a demolition exercise. We are not demolishing the West. It's absolutely wrong. If anybody thinks that we are totally against the West, no. It's not a demolition exercise, but it's an exercise in adoption, adaptation, and, if necessary, rejection. Certain things we cannot accept, and we have to reject it. I will refer you to Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah. He was asked about philosophy. Okay? So his people ask him, oh, what about philosophy? Is philosophy acceptable in Islam? Can we accept it? He said, there are some Muslims who said philosophy is all good and therefore Islam is all philosophical and therefore we should accept it. So Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah said, yes, philosophy, you can study philosophy from various perspectives. And he said, yes, there are many things in the Western concept of philosophy which is okay, which we can accept. But there are few things which we cannot accept. For example, the Western concept in the early days during his time, they said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he did not create the world. The world was there already and he came later. And he is powerful, yes, he has taken over, and therefore he is not the creator. Now this is totally against the Quran and Sunnah, and we cannot accept that part of philosophy. Or saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows only the universals. Okay, he does not know particulars. Okay? Now that is bad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Alim, Khabir. He has all the knowledge. He knows everything. And he is closer to every individual's jugular vein. So how can anybody say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows only the universals? He does not know particulars. He knows every single item that is going on. Okay? And therefore, we should stay away from that kind of thing. Imam al-Ghazali went to the extent of saying, those who be his body, only the soul will emerge. He said, no, these we cannot accept. Anyone who accepts these things in the philosophy, and we have to tell him that, sorry, we want you to be a good alim, a good Muslim, a good believer, and a good believer will not believe in those things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created everything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala controls everything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows about every single item in the world. And this is our basic faith, and we have to accept it. And this is how he Islamized philosophy. Okay, so now we come to political science. When we talk about Islamization of political science, we start talking about scholars like Ismail Raji al-Faruqi, Sheikh Taha Jabir al-Alwani, he's Taha Jabir al-Alwani, and then we have Sayyid Hussein Nasr. We also have in Malaysia, we have Sayyid Naqib al-Attas. All these are scholars, and they have dedicated their life for Islamization of knowledge. According to Ismail Faruqi, Islamization of knowledge is to recast the whole body of human knowledge, whole legacy of human knowledge from the standpoint of Islam. So we have to look at the entire body of knowledge which exists and then change it or mold it into the Islamic point of view, Islamic perspective. Or in a very simple way, he defined it very simply. He said, to recast knowledge. To recast knowledge is from as Islam relates to it. To recast knowledge as Islam relates to it. That is called Islamization of knowledge. I repeat, to recast knowledge as Islam relates to it. And that is called Islamization of knowledge. To Sayyid Naqib al-Attas, he is also saying the same thing. Is to deliver knowledge based upon secular ideology and secular outlook to Islamic point of view, Islamic perspective. So they were both saying similar thing, but they differed in terms of the methodology to Islamize knowledge. So, according to Ismail Faruqi, rahmahullah, if you want to Islamize knowledge, and he gave 12 steps, we don't have to talk about those things, just very roughly, he says, if you want to Islamize knowledge, then look at the Western knowledge first. You must study the Western knowledge. You must have full grounding in Western knowledge, because if you don't understand what the Western knowledge is, then there is no point you can do it. So you have to understand the philosophy behind it. You have to understand the methodology behind it. You have to understand the worldview behind it. Once you understand the Western knowledge, then the second step would be you must understand the Islamic knowledge. Okay? Of course, you have to understand Quran and Sunnah. You must also study our heritage, Islamic heritage, Turas. We must study the Turas. We must have good grounding in it. If you are not good in Islamic, then how are you going to Islamize? And if you are not good in the West, then how are you going to understand the West and which part you are going to Islamize? So you must have Western philosophy, etc., etc. You must have good grounding in Islam. Okay, what Quran and Sunnah has to say, what our ulama and the fuqaha said about anything. You see, compare, see where it went wrong. Then you analyze our problem in the world. The Muslims are suffering from what? What is it that we are suffering from? Okay, we are suffering from, of course, modernization. We are suffering from secularization. We are suffering from all those kinds of things. We have to bring in the concepts of Islamization of knowledge is to solve the problem which Ummah is facing. The problem Ummah is facing is the problem of misunderstanding the concept. It's the problem of education. Education, we are not educated. We are not educated in the way that we should be. Our education, according to Brother Sharan was talking, are divided, bifurcated into two. One purely Islamic, where they have nothing to do with this world, and the other one, which is purely Western, which is purely secular, they have nothing to do with Islamic element of it. So these are two totally divided from one another. And I jokingly said that the ulama, they look at the human science scholars and say they are kuffar. And the human science lecturers, they would look at the ulama, they say they are jahil. This is very bad. We shouldn't do that one. But the fact is that the thing is divided. Okay? So our ulama, they don't know anything about political science. And our political scientists, they don't know anything about Islam. So when it comes to political science, they take whatever is given from the Western perspective. And unfortunately, we don't have many books written by Muslims on political science. So we read introduction to political science this, political science that, and we take it as it is. And this is purely secular. And then we know nothing about Islam. What Islam has to say about political science? Is politics Islamic? Or can we make politics Islam? And when I ask this question, and they would say, Prof, please, don't go into Islam. You know, politics and Islam, they are two different things. They are not the same thing. Very interesting thing that happened in my life. I was coming from market. I was driving alone. And then I saw three of my brothers standing under the scorching sun. So I recognized them and I said, brothers, please come in. We never talked to each other. So they entered the car. I said, I'm sure you are going where I'm going. He said, yeah, we know where you stay. We are also staying in the same place and closer to that. So, and then in the car, they said, and I had a long beard also. And I was leading the prayer in the mosque. So whenever I go to the mosque, you know, they would always push me to lead the prayer. So I was the imam and I also had beard. So I am a good Muslim, good alim. So one of them said, oh, we know you, brother. I said, yes. How do you know me? He said, we know you. You are a teacher in the university. I said, yes, but do you know what I teach? He said, yeah, we know. I said, what? Oh, you teach Arabic. I said, no, I don't teach Arabic. Oh, then you teach Quran and Sunnah. Oh, we know. You teach Quran and Sunnah. I said, no, brother, I don't teach Quran and Sunnah. And then one of them said, and what do you teach? I said, I teach political science. And the third one says, Na'udhu billahi min zalik. How can an alim be a political science teacher? And when they were getting down from my car, one of them, he banged my car. He said, banged the car and said, don't make this kind of nasty jokes. It cannot be true. So people have this conception that politics and Islam are two different things. Politics is very dirty. Islam is very pure. So Islam and politics cannot therefore join with one another. Okay? Is it true? And that is the thing that I have been talking about. In one of the public lecture, I raised the same issue and I said, is politics dirty? If it is dirty, what should we do? Can we Islamize it? I said, politics is dirty because you are a good Muslim, you are an alim, you are a zahid, you are not corrupt at all, you don't take part in politics. If you take part in politics, if you become the prime minister, or if you become the president of the country, inshallah, the country will change. And there will be no rashwa problem and dirty. Okay? And even the Westerners, they say politics is a dirty game. When he heard this, then he said, Okay, Prof. After the lecture, he came and he said, "Okay, from now on, I'm going to study political science seriously, and I will also take my graduation degree in political science." I said, "Alhamdulillah," but he never did that. So we should look at political science from Islamic perspective. There should not be any dualism between Islamic and non-Islamic sciences, because Islam is universal. Islam is universal. It does not make any distinction between this and that. Islam does not say, render unto Caesar what's to Caesar and unto God what's to God. So, no. Islam doesn't say that. Islam says, render unto Caesar what's to God and unto God also what's to God. Because everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we should look at them from that perspective. Okay, so what we are going to do in this course, in this few time, and I'm not very happy with Brother Shahran, and I'm not very happy with IIIT. I'm not very happy. They gave me only 7 hours. I need 72 hours. Even 72 hours will not be enough. Okay, because the topic is very long and very lengthy. In any case, what we are going to do, we are going to look at some of the concepts, most important concepts in political science, which affects our lives. Okay? We are going to take that concept, and then we are going to look at the Western concept. What does it say? Okay? What is the meaning these Western concepts convey? What are the values associated with Western concepts? What do they have to say? And then we are also try to critically analyze it, see it, not to reject it, but to understand what it says and what are the values involved. Most of the concepts that we have in the West, they are not un-Islamic, but there are others which are un-Islamic, which we do not understand. Okay? Most of the things, apparently it looks like Islamic. So for example, democracy is a concept. Is democracy Islamic? Okay. And I have been asking this question all the time. Is democracy Islamic? And they say, Prof, what is the problem? Democracy is ruled by the people, by the majority. So Islam also asks you to rule by consulting with the people. Okay? وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, you must rule by consultation. And democracy is government by consultation. So what's wrong? I said, no, democracy is not acceptable in Islam. Why, Prof? Because of the values attached to it. And when they talk about democracy, okay, we'll talk later more in depth. When they talk about democracy, they are saying people are supreme. All the decisions that you make must be on the basis of what the people want. And whatever they want, whatever the majority wants, we have to give it to them. Because the value system, the philosophy behind democracy is the supremacy of the people. Okay? Man is the measure of everything. Whatever they want, you have to give it to them. So, but I said, look, we cannot say that. In Islam, man is not the measure of everything. In Islam, everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whatever he says, we accept it. If he says don't, we don't do it. So, yes, he says we have to take decisions on the basis of consultation. Yes, we will take decision on the basis of consultation. But in matters where the Quran and Sunnah says you cannot talk about it, you cannot take decision on that one, we will stay away from it no matter what the people say. Understand? So you have a democracy, you have a parliament. In the parliament, everybody meets, and then they decide that, okay, from tomorrow we will allow everybody to drink alcohol. 100% people want it. So we are so we accept it. Khamar, we allow alcohol, then they will accept it, but we will not accept. We will say, this is a no-go area. Quran says we cannot go near that. We will not go near that. Okay. Zina is the another thing. La taqrabu zina. Never go near it. Okay. So khamr, maisir, ansab, azlam. These are the things which are no-go area. We cannot go into that element of what the entire population says. Okay. So if you accept those limitations, if you accept those limitations on people's opinion, yes, you'll accept it. So if you remove that part, democracy is okay. If you don't remove it, then we will not accept it. So he said, oh, then what you are talking about, if it's not the Quranic opinion, then it is not democracy. No, no, no. We are still talking about by the people. Every other things will be decided by the people, not by us. Okay? And everything on which Quran and Sunnah is silent, we will decide what the people want. We will go by majority. We would. Okay? Is there anything equal to the word in Islam? What is it? Is there a concept in the light of the Quran and the Sunnah? And then we will also look at how our ulama and the fuqaha, they looked at it. How did they define it? What is it? Examine that concept by referring to the Quran and Sunnah. We will also look at by looking at the turas of our ulama. Okay? And then we will arrive at a valid conclusion and we will say that this is what it's all about. So Islamization of knowledge is simply that. Okay? Islamization of knowledge means you look at the Western concept, you look at the concepts which have secular basis, which are based upon secular ideology, examine it, try to find out what are the problems with it, and then remove it, get it out from secularism, and then give it an Islamic meaning based upon Quran and Sunnah, based upon what our ulama and the fuqaha has said. Our ulama and fuqaha are also, not everything is correct. Okay, so we have to examine what our ulama has said, and then we will come up with a concept which is purely Islamic, and that is simply Islamization of political science. Okay. So what we are going to do is in the next 6 hours that I have, I will try to make it as simple as we can summarize it as much as possible. I'm going to look at what is the meaning of political science. What is political science? From Western perspective, based upon secular ideology, and then we will see whether we can also accept political science, khilafah, and then we are going to look at the rights and responsibilities of individuals in an Islamic political system. In an Islamic political system, we are talking about accountability in Islam. And then we will also, if we have time, inshallah, we will also look at a way to do research on political science aspects. And finally, we will look at some of the Islamic movements, which is very, very important. We should look at it. What are they trying to do so that we can have a sound opinion about all these things? Okay? So this is, in brief, we are going to look at political science from Islamic perspective. This is how we would like to Islamize political science. Okay, now let's start with politics. What is politics? What is politics? Politics, I told you, is a dirty game. It's a dirty game. according to Western scholars, one of them defined politics as the art of governing. Politics as the art of governing by cheating mankind. It's not my definition. Okay, if you want, the person who defined it is Benjamin Franklin. He said it. He said, "What is politics? Politics is the art of governing by cheating mankind." Politics is politics. Please do not go near it. Then there is no point defining it. Just profit, go and join them. If you want to refine, if you want to serve the community, go and take part in politics. And most importantly, but we forget. What we forget is things. Politics is everywhere. Whenever you open your mouth, you will see, and everybody is engaged in politics in one form or the other. They are arguing with one another in order to arrive at a particular common sense. Okay. Now, politics is not what it was supposed to be. Okay? So we are not talking about politics as it exists in the contemporary world. Politics, according to Plato and Aristotle, and I'm talking about early days, not today's. According to Aristotle, politics has to do with highest good. Politics aims at promoting good life. In the Greek age, Aristotle and Plato and others, they always talked about this. He said, yes, politics is everywhere, and the purpose of politics is to create a good society. The purpose of politics is to create an environment where people can lead a good life. And to them, a good life was not necessarily the religious life. A good life was a life of virtue. People where they would live comfortably without exploiting others, without cheating others. Okay? It has to be a good life where you will be nice to others, okay? Where you will give and you will take without any exploitation. Well, this is good life for Aristotle and politics. Okay. Later on, people came in and they said, look, good life varies from person to person, and therefore you cannot simply define politics as striving for good life. You have to talk about something else. So he said, politics must be defined by referring to power, by referring to authority, okay, by referring to rules. So politics has to do with power, rule, and authority. Power, rule, and authority. So when you talk about politics, you must be talking about power. Who has power and who does not have power? Why are people so much crazy about joining politics? They want power. Power is the ability to make someone do something which he or she otherwise would not do. That's power. To make people do what you want them to do. That's power. And in that sense, everybody wants power. And politics gives you that power, and power, authority, who has power and who does not have power. There are others, other Western scholars, they define politics as a struggle for power. It's a very famous definition, struggle for power. Struggle for power. So when you are engaged in politics, you are struggling for power. You want to capture power. That's why you are in politics. Politics is all about power. If you have power, you can do whatever you want. And therefore, all those people who are engaged in politics, they are struggling for power. So when you have election, they all want to be elected. When they are elected, what happens? Those who have the majority, they become the government. They form the government. And when you have the government, you can do whatever you like. You can make people obey you. You can make people cry. You can make people die. You can do whatever you want as long as you have the power. And those who do not have majority, they become opposition. So the interesting thing is, what is the function of opposition in a democratic form of government? Very simple. Opposition is to oppose. Whatever government is doing, the job of the opposition is to oppose. Say, whatever you are doing is rubbish. It's not good. It's very bad for the people. That is the purpose of opposition. So the purpose, the objective of the government is to exercise power, and the purpose and the objective of the opposition is to oppose the government so that he can defeat the next election. He can defeat that person, and he becomes the government so that he can exercise power. There is another very interesting definition by Harold Laswell. I tell my students, if you don't remember his name, remember he is not very well. He is less well. Lasswell. Harold Laswell. Okay? And according to him, politics is concerned with what? Politics is concerned with who gets what, when, and how. Politics is concerned with who gets what, when, and how. So who gets what? Who gets? Whoever is taking part in politics, whoever is joining the government, whoever is contesting the election, whoever is for whoever has the majority. So who gets? What does he get? He gets power. If you are the prime minister, you are powerful. If you are the president, you are powerful. So who gets what? Whoever is struggling for. Either you can struggle by forming a political party, or you can struggle by forming a civil organization, social organization, or you can take part in nowadays social media. All of this so that you become popular. When you become popular, you form the government, and when you form the government, why? In order to exercise power. So who gets what? You suffer to get power after the election, or when you have the majority in the parliament, or if you are an army, you take the gun and then kill everybody and take over government. In the Muslim world, this is happening. So who gets what, when, and how is called politics. And we political scientists, we are supposed to do these kind of things. These are the things that we do. One more definition I would give you from the Western point of view. It's again, they are all saying the same thing. This is from David Easton, E-A-S-T-O-N, David Easton. Can you imagine? I have already taken 30 minutes and I have not talked about Islam at all. Shahran, brother, what are we doing? Can we continue until 1 o'clock tonight? Okay. Another definition is by David Easton, and he defines it. He defines politics as authoritative allocation of values for the whole society. Okay? That is politics. Okay? That is politics. Is the authoritative allocation of values, authoritative allocation of values for the whole society. Okay? The term that you must remember is authoritative allocation values for the whole society. So when you are in politics, when you occupy the government, what does the government do? Government takes decisions. Those decisions are authoritative. You cannot argue about it. Decision has been taken and you have to obey. If you don't obey, you will be in jail. This is authority because they have the authority. So the government has decided that you cannot drive when there is a red light on. And if you drive while the red light is on, you will be caught by the police. And the police will put you in jail or would fine you for violating the law because it is against. So authoritative is that one. Allocation, they give you something to you and something takes away from you. Okay? What is the government giving? Giving you the good roads, they give you traffic lights and all those things, and they take away taxes and everything that you have to pay. What other things they allocate? They allocate values. What is the meaning of value? This is the best thing that you should know. Value here does not mean what we understand. Value in the West means money. If you have money, you have the value. If you are a moneyed man, then you are a valuable man. And therefore, in America and other places, they don't do anything without money. Even a small thing, if they want, it's a joke, they say in America, they are so much crazy about money that they will not utter a single word if you don't give them money. So he said, so if you see one another, what do you say? They say, Assalamu alaikum. You are foolish people. Why are you wasting your time? They don't give you. When you say Assalamu alaikum, they don't give you 10 ringgit or $10. Why are you wasting? Hi, finish. So when you see somebody, you say, hi, finish. I'm not wasting my time because you are not going to give me money. That is my value. Okay? Hi. And the decision made by the government is good for the whole society. Okay? If you are staying inside, you have to obey. The whole society has to obey. You cannot run away from it. Okay? And that is what politics is all about. Okay? Now, let's look at Islam. If you are defining politics the way Aristotle and Plato and Aristotle defined it, then we say, okay, politics is striving for life. Okay? Politics is striving for good life. We can say, yes, we can accept that one. You have been being nice to others. Good life does not mean not cheating. Good life does not simply mean not harming others. Good life does not simply mean no exploitation. All these things are okay, but that is not what we mean by good life. Okay, we accept all those things, but good life for a Muslim, is a life to live according to the Quran and the Sunnah. A life lived in worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is good life. So if you want to define politics as good life, we have no problem with that one. The problem is the way you define good life and the way we define good life. Okay? We define good life means we want to live according to the Quran and Sunnah. We want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So how are you going to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We are going to pray. You have to pray 5 times a day. Now, is 5 times a day good life or not? Say, how does it become a good life? You go to the mosque and you say Allahu Akbar, up and down, up and down. Okay, so what is the purpose of that? Somebody was saying, Prof, why do people pray in the mosque so much? What do they get? I said, you tell me, what do they get? He said, it's a very good way of exercise. It's a free hand exercise. You stand up, take your hands up, take your hands down, go to ruku, go to sujood, stand up, go to ruku. He said, then you don't have to go to masjid. You don't have to go to the gymnasium. This is good enough. But prayer is not meant for that. Prayer teaches you good life. How does prayer teach you good life? 5 times. Can you imagine this? 5 times prayer teaches you good life. The first thing prayer teaches you is time. Time is very valuable. Time is very valuable. And therefore, 5 times prayer has been fixed. To be performed on time. Wal-asr. What does it mean? By the time. Inna al-insana lafi khusr. People are at a loss. Illa alladhina amanu. Except those amanu, those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa amilu salihat, and they do the right thing. And remember this, believing and doing the right thing is not easy. It's very difficult. But you have to do it. And that's why you have to know that what is the right thing to do. Right thing to do is to pray. And therefore you should tell them, pray. And you also tell them to exercise. The prayer teaches you first and foremost importance of time. And look at we Muslims. Are we concerned about it? I'm so happy today. We were told to start at 9 and we had started at 9 exactly. Allahu Akbar. That's a great achievement. Okay? And that is according to what the Quran and Sunnah says. We should start on time, we should finish on time. And then you go to pray. Also the interesting thing, the Muazzin calls for prayer. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Did we ever think about what is the Muazzin saying? Muazzin is not telling you that, come, this is the time for prayer. Muazzin is saying, Allah is great. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his prophet. So you come to pray. If you come to pray, you are going to get the benefits. Hayya al salah, come for prayer. He said, rush for prayer. Hayya al falah, come for prayer. And for success. What happens if you don't come? Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allah is still great. La ilaha illallah. You have nobody else except Him. So if you don't pray, Allah will not lose anything. If you pray, you are not benefiting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you pray, you are praying for your own good. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you. He will be happy. He'll say, okay, I have an abd. My abd is praying for me and I will follow. You stand up for the imam. It's a qama, and then you stand up. You know, when you stand up, what does the prayer say? The good life. In the good life, everybody is equal. There should be no distinction between the rich and the poor. All of you must stand shoulder to shoulder. That's a great achievement. You know, shoulder to shoulder. Don't keep gap. Don't keep gap between one another, because if you keep gap, shaitan will come and put in your heart that, oh, I'm big, I'm a professor, so how can I stand next to the student? Let him stay away. Okay? That feeling should not be there. And therefore, the first thing the prayer teaches you is equality. You are all equal. You are all brothers and sisters to one another. They stand shoulder to shoulder, leg to leg, shoulder to shoulder, so that there remains no distinction between rich and the poor. Once it is done, Imam is leading the prayer, obey the Imam. Obedience to leader is very important. If you don't obey the leader, if you don't obey the Imam goes to ruku and you have not finished Surah Fatiha reading, so you stand where you are, and then Imam has finished the ruku and gets up and he goes to sujood, you are still reciting Surah Fatiha, your prayer is not valid. You have to obey the Imam. And if Imam makes mistake, you have to correct him. You have to correct him. And you have to do all these things for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should be nice to one another and help each other. Wabillahi tawfiq wal hidayah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala. This is the meaning of good life. Inshallah, in the next class, we are going to talk about power. Okay? What is power, and does Islam ask you to look for power? I have only 1 minute left. I ask you, please forgive me if I have not come up to your expectations. Okay? I will try my level best to come up to your expectation and to do more justice to the course that we are doing it. Billahi tawfiq wal hidayah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much, Prof. We take two questions from the chat box. First from Brother Muhammad Bilal. Students Islam or not? How can the student decide the epistemological validity of the knowledge?
Yes. I cannot give you a very easy answer. When I started, you have to do is to know deeply inside the Western concept. You have to understand it. You have to study it. If you don't study, then you will not know. Most of our Muslim brothers, they just follow the West because they don't. Most of the problem in the Western concept is a hidden problem. The hidden problem, the values attached to the concepts are different from the values that we talk about. So you have to study, you have to study, you have to ask. If you cannot find answer to it, Ask those, okay? Ask those who know. Ask those. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Okay? First of all, try your best to find the answer. Try your best to find out whether it's according to Islam or not. And if you think you cannot do it, the Quran is there. It tells you, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ. Go and ask those who know if you do not know. That is the simple answer I can give you to this question. But there is no shortcut to it. You have to study, you have to go thoroughly. And nowadays, all the Google and all those things are available. Just press.
Okay, Prof. The next one from Brother Nuruddin is a bit longer. Professor, some of Faruqi's critics say, why does Islamization project begin with mastering Western knowledge and not with mastering Islamic knowledge? Isn't it actually easier for Western ideas to penetrate mind of the Muslims that the person who carries out this process of Islamization already has the foundation of Tawheed, so that he already has the field?
Thank you very much. It's a very, very valid question. Ismail Faruqi, he started by looking at Western concepts, because according to him, it is the Western concepts which needs to be Islamized. And knowledge is already there. We are not going to start something fresh. Knowledge is there and rectify whatever problems that knowledge contains. Sheikh Taha Jabir al-Alwani, he also had the same problem, and therefore he came up later on. He said, we agree with what Ismail Faruqi said. Instead of starting the Sunnah, let's try to understand the methodology of the Quran and the Sunnah. Let's try to understand the Ras, our heritage of our ulama and the fuqaha. Once we are well versed in all these things, then we take the Western concepts and we Islamize it. This is another way of doing it. There are those who criticize Faruqi. They say, what Ismail Faruqi has said, if we follow, then people would end up becoming more Western than Islamic. So some people say, this is not Islamization of knowledge. This is Westernization of Islam. But it would be very unfair if you accuse Ismail Faruqi of Westernizing Islam. No, he never had that intention. Okay? He wanted to Islamize knowledge, and he was highly critical of the Western knowledge. He looked at it and he came up with what he understood. Human beings are human beings. They may make mistakes, but as far as your intention is concerned, his intention was perfectly okay. And many people benefited by following his methodology. Also, there are those who follows Jabir al-Alwani. Jabir al-Alwani said, okay, we start from Islam. It's okay, so you can start from Islam. Whichever way you like, please go ahead and do it. The important thing is to Islamize. If you think you can Islamize by knowing Islam first, why not? But if you think you can Islamize by knowing the thing that you want to Islamize, why not? Both of the ways, whether you go to the left or you go to the right, all of them lead you to Siratul Mustaqim, inshallah.
Okay, Prof. Thank you. Thank you so much. About 1 or 2 minute concluding remark for
Yes,
today.
please.
I mean, from you.
From me. The concluding remark is that we Muslims, we are suffering. We are suffering in this world. The condition of the Ummah is very bad. Everywhere we go, he respects us. Nobody, and the people do not respect us because we are not what we are supposed to be. People respect us. People respect those who come up and say what they are, and they show that they are what they are, and therefore others will respect you. But if you do not know what you are doing, what you are supposed to be doing, and then you claim that you are a Muslim, then others would laugh at you and would laugh at us the way they are trampling us. And therefore, I believe Islamization of knowledge is one of the mechanisms by which we can salvage ourselves and we will have falah in this world and in the hereafter. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We are so blessed to have you with us, Prof. We see you again next week, inshallah, on same day and same time. Till then, everyone, we end this session with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.